It is September 21st, 2022. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast, AEW Grand Slam from Arthur Ashe, Part 1. Tonight, big surprise debut, new AEW champion, some belts changed hands, so much to talk about, so much to dive into. I'm Glenn Rubenstein. Joining me tonight, referee extraordinaire Jimmy Korderas and the multi-million-dollar Maharaja, Raj Giri. The two of us together on a podcast.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Raj, when is your investing series? I saw you teasing that on Twitter. When's that going to start?
Hey man, I'm looking for people who can produce YouTube videos. I was like trying to learn it on my own. Like I don't want to do the producing part. You know?
Yeah, you got more money than time, brother. You got to hire people for that.
Yeah, so now it's just I've talked to a couple people last week, and I'm going to talk to a few more, and hopefully get that going, because right now the market's down. This is when I like to strike, and you know, so yeah, I've been doing a lot, and in my opinion, these are all my opinions, but I think it's going to be down for a while. So I think it's kind of a good time, but that's my personal opinion. It's not investment advice for anyone else.
Yes. So of course our thoughts tonight are with Issa and the island of Puerto Rico, experiencing quite a storm. She did text me today to let me know she is alive. She didn't go into further detail, but we hope things get back to normal there as soon as possible.
Yeah, and she had also mentioned, we were texting earlier, that her mom seems better as well.
Good.
So
Absolutely.
Good. It is not the same without her. Tonight, Dynamite. There was some news though. What's going on in the news before we hop into the Grand Slam?
Probably the biggest thing would be the White Rabbit stuff. I mean, non-WWE wise, obviously we had Saraya, formerly known as Paige, returning tonight, which we'll get to. But yeah, the White Rabbit stuff caused a lot of speculation. What do you guys think?
I think I like it because it's got people talking, it's got people guessing, it's got people assuming. I know that what they say, you should never assume, because when you assume, you know,
Occasionally you're wrong.
Occasionally you're wrong. Yes, that's perfect. Perfect segue into that. But at the same time, it's fun to imagine stuff like that. I'm just curious. I'm wondering if the QR code that we witnessed the other night, is that the first time that has been done?
No, NXT did it for Zoe Stark's.
Okay, yeah, but at least on the main roster,
yes, correct,
on main programming, and I don't know how well that works. I guess it remains to be seen, but people are talking about it, so that's good.
Yeah, it points to this Friday at 9:23. If that is when they do the big reveal, the only thing I would say I would consider a little bit of a negative is that this would have been something cool because it's great when you get the people talking, and it's basically one episode where they did that, and some house shows. Whereas, I almost feel like it'd be cool to do it for a few weeks, and had to build it up more and more, and until you finally do the reveal. Just to kind of like how you did with the Y2J stuff way back in the day, or even some of the Save Us Y2J codes that came later. So that would be my only thing. But I always love when they do stuff like this where they're dropping Easter eggs. Fans are going online trying to figure it out. To me, it seems like it's an obvious Bray Wyatt thing. I don't know if he comes back as a bunny. I hope not. But if it's a new mask, or I don't know. But it definitely does seem like a Bray Wyatt thing to me.
It's exciting, and I think that I like that both Tony Khan and Triple H are treating us like we're in the early stages of a romantic relationship, and just pulling out all the stops to impress us and delight us with surprises.
Yeah, surprises are good, and again, we'll talk about the surprise tonight, and it keeps people guessing, it keeps people interested, it keeps people wanting to see what comes next. And Raj, you mentioned 9:23. I could almost see it happening on 9:23, regardless of what's going on in the ring. At 9:23 on the dot, boom, we get a blackout. Even if there's a match going on in the ring, whatever's going on, promo segment, whatever it is, all of a sudden, boom, at 9:23, the lights go out. We get the eerie music, and here we go.
Yeah, and I think I think that would be great. Again, I like that they're doing this. I like Triple H is taking a lot of these ideas that he used in NXT and moving them to the main roster, whether it's Fight Pit, bringing back War Games. Granted, that wasn't an NXT idea, but he brought it to WWE in NXT. And, it just feels fresher again. WWE feels, their product feels the most interesting in a long time.
Yeah. It is a good time to be a wrestling fan.
Yes.
Like the week or two before the Vince scandal broke, I remember thinking to myself, this is probably the dullest period since AEW came in. AEW felt the coldest they've been this summer. WWE didn't have much going on. And then, boom, the Vince scandal hits, and Triple H takes over. All of a sudden, you're not doing all these repeat matches on Raw over and over. And then now with AEW, they have that big flare up. You can look at that as a negative, but it looks like AEW has kind of regrouped. And the last few weeks, they feel like they're on the comeback trail, and they're not taking a defeat. So it's really exciting right now.
I really want to figure out, though, with AEW using Jefferson Starship and WWE using Jefferson Airplane, is TNA going to bust out like we built this city, or perhaps nothing's going to stop us now, just to complete the trifecta?
Impact Wrestling will.
Yes.
Impact Wrestling will.
They can afford those rights.
Exactly.
So what else is going on in the news?
That's about it. Paige, obviously coming in tonight. Apparently, according to Fightful, she had talks with AEW this past summer, and boom, here she is. It's not known I don't know if yet. I haven't asked around yet if she can wrestle or not, or if she's just in a managerial role. We have seen people with neck injuries that were career threatening, or we thought their career was over, that have come back. So who knows? So but man, Paige, that ovation she got tonight was just insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My only concern is, like you said, Raj, because it is a neck injury and we have seen people come back from it. But if the reason she is not with WWE anymore is because they wouldn't clear her for in-ring work and she's going there to work in the ring, maybe she needs to be checked out by their doctor. Doc Sampson's a good doc. So,
yeah. I mean, we saw it with Sting, where he had to retire due to the neck injury.
Right.
And he was able to come back. But again, someone's physical well-being is way more important. So
also Sting doesn't do the twisting, burning 450 hammer Phoenix splashes that we see in AEW. He doesn't need them.
Right.
Yeah.
Tony Khan just keeps buying those stem cells in bulk, and I think he can keep rehabilitating these wrestlers.
There you go.
But it's interesting, I thought she was there to wrestle, and then I did have a moment of pause when I saw Athena and Toni Storm coming in the ring with her after. I was like, oh, it's going to be Absolution Part 2.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, Britt Baker's group, you got 3 people, or
That's
you
true.
had, so, and then Paige, it's going to take me a while to get used to Saraya, but, Saraya did motion for the belt, even though Tony has it. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I always felt like, even as a manager, she was never quite utilized right in WWE. I thought she was doing a fantastic job in an off-screen role as general manager, and then you had that they got those bad ratings, those couple of weeks, and they're like, all right, we're dropping general managers completely. Right. And but I thought she was doing great. So she's shown that she can be great off camera. I mean, not off camera, but not in the ring in a out of the ring role. So hopefully she's utilized.
I feel like a broken record, but it's like, is this the turning point where AEW finally turns around their women's division? I feel like every signing, Tony Khan seems so high on them, gives them this great debut, and then it's like, nope, maybe we get one match on Dynamite, one match on Rampage.
And it's usually that the match that goes on right before the main event. And
yeah,
I was going to get to that later again tonight, but anyway, yeah, it's not taking advantage of a strong women's division.
Yeah, especially now.
Yeah,
so much talent. So much talent, so little time. But let's dive in and talk about this. But first, we got a couple super chats. Dylan Matthews, my man, Australian 299, asking, did Kevin Dunn produce that Mox versus Bryan Danielson match? Crazy camera cuts during that.
I noticed that a few times tonight.
Yes.
Where, I'm not one who gets all obsessed with camera cuts and stuff like that, but there are times when it can be distracting. And I didn't think it was distracting tonight, but I did notice that there seemed to be a lot more than usual.
Yeah, and the camera cuts usually aren't distracting when they were a little bit tonight in that main event, and I'll explain it when we get there.
Okay.
I'll wait and save it for then. Let's put it that way.
And Apox Music, Canadian $6.99. That's like $5.99 US. Saying, crazy show. Mox winning through me. Love it. Brian stays putting on match of the year candidates so I don't get the misuse talk. Mox versus Nick Cage soon too on GCW. Booking with Brian. I mean, this has me feeling like MJF is going to get that championship, and they don't want to waste a Bryan Danielson title reign.
I mean, that's what I was pretty dead on my picks on Twitter tonight, but that's kind of what I figured going in was they already put the wheels in motion for Moxley and MJF over the last couple of weeks. So it seemed like Moxley wins here. I think if you did MJF cashing in, it would be too much like Money in the Bank. Whereas, in the past you cash in, you get an actual match as opposed to kind of a surprise run in. And I if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they've ever done a Money in the Bank type of title change. I'm pretty sure they haven't. So, and it makes sense. They got a pay-per-view coming up in November. Moxley versus MJF is probably the biggest match they could put on right now. And I just feel like that dynamic with Mox and MJF is just stronger than Danielson and MJF. I just feel like it just feels like it could get more heated and more personal and feel like a bigger deal.
That I definitely agree with, especially on the microphone, because as the old saying goes, you talk people into the seats. And these guys, yes, Bryan Danielson can go in the ring. There's very few that can do what he does, and he is amazing. But at the same time, like you said, John Moxley has this personality about him too.
Oh yeah,
that just makes you gravitate towards him. And of course, MJF is just knocking it out of the park. Let's put it that way. As a heel. So, I think that is the perfect matchup coming up for the pay-per-view.
Yes. And Mox is going to force MJF to get dirty, Christina Aguilera and Redman style. This is going to be a different style match for MJF.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're two of the best on the mic, and Danielson's great too. Don't get me wrong. But I think the build should be really good for that.
Although I would like to see Danielson versus MJF. I think Danielson could throw some very interesting shade at MJF given his history with The Miz.
Well, I'm guessing MJF wins the title, and you're gonna need some challengers after that.
Yeah,
and you got Punk gone. Even if his suspension is lifted, he had a surgery for a torn pec, so he's still gone.
Right.
If Omega comes back, he's one. But right now, you don't have the ready-made pay-per-view challengers, so. I could see Danielson easily being one of them.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No worries. I'm sorry to cut you off. No, and Danielson's a name guy as well, not just within AEW, but worldwide.
I think he's lost a lot lately. That it kind of takes some of his shine off, and he needs to get a few wins to get back in that, a few big wins to kind of get back in that top.
Right.
He's always going to be a main event guy, but to feel like a world title possible next world champion, I feel like he needs some big wins again.
Fair enough.
Meanwhile, CM Punk is sitting at home tonight thinking about suing Nick Hausman.
I'm sure he's thinking about suing somebody
or taking an improv class. It could go either way. So let's dive into it and talk about Grand Slam. We started with Claudio Castagnoli versus Chris Jericho versus the Ring of Honor World Championship match. And spoiler alert, Chris Jericho is now Chris Jericho and the new Ring of Honor World Champion. Were you surprised, Jimmy, at the outcome of this match? And what did you think about the journey we went on and the story these gentlemen told in the ring?
I as far as the story told in the ring, I love the story they told in the ring. Both these guys are are great at storytelling in the ring and getting matches over and getting people invested in what they do. That's what, especially Jericho lately has just been knocking it out of the park. The fact that Jericho won this match, I'm a little bit surprised, but at the same time, if you want to elevate that ROH championship, who better to put it on than Y2J Chris Jericho to elevate the championship? Because I hate to put it this way, at this time right now, it feels like Jericho is bigger than that title. So Jericho holding that title makes it feel that much more important. And I know people are going to read that the wrong way. I don't mean it to feel the way it sounded coming out, but you know what I mean? Jericho, you could right now in AEW, the entire roster, you're looking at the entire roster. What bigger star can you put it on to elevate that championship than Chris Jericho?
Raj, what do you think?
I mean, I wasn't surprised. I had kind of called it. I just felt like the ROH in general, I feel like it's been kind of a bad time to introduce all this ROH stuff just because, they got TV rights negotiations coming up, basically over the next 6 months is likely when they're going to be taking place. And that should be the focus. I've said it before. I just, when people talk about ROH getting a TV deal, I just don't see where that would happen. Wouldn't Rampage getting a better TV deal be the first priority? And we're a year in with Rampage and it hasn't. And then just looking at the stations, their lineups, who's owned by who, I don't see ROH getting a deal unless it's some like really low rent network.
Coming soon to the Weather Channel, Ring of Honor.
Oh, yeah,
exactly.
My goodness.
And again, I hope I'm wrong. If it gets a great TV deal, that's the best for the industry. But anyway, I felt like the ROH title, it's just the titles have just kind of been there. I feel like the world title, they got it on Claudio, but it's just felt stale. I feel like as far as a build for a match, it hasn't added anything. And I think Jericho winning it elevates that title. I think, like Jimmy said, Jericho's bigger than that title. It all of a sudden makes it feel like a top guy is holding on to it. And that's no disrespect to Claudio. I think Claudio's fantastic, but I think Jericho's just a different level of star. He's one of the top tier stars in the company. So I think it was a good move. It was interesting. And I didn't think they were going to have Jericho lose 2 weeks in a row either. He's, as one of their top guys.
I do have to just step in and say, as much as I enjoyed the match, and I really did, and people, again, don't get me wrong here, the way they went into the finish kind of threw me off, being a former official myself. The ref distraction was not very, didn't come off well to me. Yes, I get it. They did the flip where Claudio looked like he was going to run into Aubrey and Aubrey turned away, but it felt like Aubrey stayed there intentionally so that to give time for Jericho to use the low blow to go to the finish. Do you know what I mean? It felt too, I don't want to say choreograph. I hate using the word choreograph, but if it had happened quicker, like for example, if Claudio would have flipped over towards Aubrey and Aubrey turned to the corner, and while Claudio had his back to Jericho, there comes the kick. It's quick, it's taking advantage of a situation and not putting the any spotlight on the referee, because to me it was like, why was she turned so long? She didn't need to be turned so long. I know little things, as we say.
Oh, it's good. Jimmy, you should come back to reffing and make it your gimmick that you can't be distracted. And then for every finish, you're like checking your phone, you're on Twitter, you're, talking to someone in the audience, and you're like, but I can't be distracted.
Then you hold it up to the to the camera. See, look.
But no, it bugs me too. I mean, I think ref distractions are a very hard thing to make believable. They always seem they're
overdone.
Oh, exactly. And that's the thing I was going to say later on in this show was we had it a couple of more times during the show, and Monday, and it's not just an AEW thing. On Monday night, there was an issue too. So, it's an industry wide thing that they got to get away from that. The idea is to outsmart the referee, not make them look silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you have wrestlers getting distracted to music, all the time, and then the ref distractions, it's just overdone. It makes everyone look kind of dumb. And if you do it once in a month, it just means so much more.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, that goes with both WWE and AEW.
I mean, I liked Claudio in this role as Ring of Honor champion. I think this is good for Ring of Honor. Maybe to your point, Raj, maybe this is good. Maybe having Jericho associated with the brand, you know, you've got him on one end of the spectrum, Samoa Joe on the other. Maybe for a TV rights negotiation, this does give it a little more shine to, I mean, look, no offense to Claudio, I'm Cesaro section for life, but if you're talking to people at the networks, Jericho is a name that if you've even vaguely paid attention to wrestling in the last 20 years, you know that name.
Mm-hmm. Any of those TV execs who were fans from the Monday Night War era, and they see Jericho, how great he still looks, and you know, I think that would be
when they're
something that tips the scales a little bit.
When they're going for those negotiations with Animal Planet to air Ring of Honor, I think this is really going to help.
There you go.
But you know, again, I think the point comes is like, what are you selling? You don't have a show. And are you going to sell those old ROH shows in the dimly lit arenas that look like, you know, the really poor production values? Or are you saying, hey, we have these random matches here on our A shows, and we'll see. I just don't don't see it until I see Rampage get a better deal. I'm not saying ROH getting something of substance.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. What you said there, Raj, with a name value like Jericho with the ROH Championship is a good selling point to these television stations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we went from that hot opener to Swerve in Our Glory versus the Acclaimed, and good Acclaimed freestyle. Always a crowd pleaser. People seem very into it. But man, if people weren't high on Jericho winning tonight, the Acclaimed becoming the new AEW World Tag Team Champions. Raj, what'd you think of this match, and what do you think of that outcome? Is this the right time? Was it overdue for the Acclaimed to have those championships?
Oh yeah, I thought this was the perfect ending for this match. The Acclaimed were so over until Saraya came out. They were the most overact in on the show. Granted, they're from New York, but I know some people were saying they should have just done the title change at the pay-per-view, but this, in kind of their home area, it just meant more. Maybe you don't beat them at the pay-per-view. You had Swerve in Our Glory, you beat someone else. But I thought this was great. There was one weird missed spot where Max Caster came off the top rope to hit his finisher. And I don't know what went wrong there, but things went awry for a minute or two. But outside of that, I thought the match was solid. Maybe not as good as their pay-per-view match, but I thought it was really good. The Acclaimed got one of the loudest pops I've heard for a tag team since like the Hardys at WrestleMania when they came back. I mean, it was gigantic. So I thought it was an awesome moment, and the crowd just made it that much bigger. This and Clash at the Castle were two of the best crowds of the year. Mm-hmm. It was just fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jimmy, what did you think of this match?
No, I liked the match. I enjoyed the match. It told a story, a pretty good story. Again, like Raj said, I didn't quite get what happened there. That little missed spot there, kind of what happened. But here again in this match, little things. Again, the referee, bad distraction there. It just for some reason I don't know if it's because it's what my former profession as an official. When I see it done that way, and obviously the referee has to do what the talent wants them to do, because the referee's job is to be there to help the talent tell their story. But at the same time, if it's taking away from the match, like I said, it's making the referee look bad. So the heat goes to the referee as opposed to going to the heels where the heat's supposed to go. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I'm finding now. But other than that, I thought the match was great. I thought the crowd loved it. Going into it, they didn't seem to mind the poor officiating, for lack of a better term. So, but hey, the right team won. I thought. No offense to Swerve and Lee, but the Acclaimed were, I don't want to say overdue, but due.
Yeah, I think it was a very good call, and yeah, I feel like. They could have done this at any time in the last 6 months and people would have been ecstatic. Corey Pride with a $5 super chat saying, was the Acclaimed winning tonight rather than a pay-per-view a better move? I mean, I think
questionable.
Yeah, they were almost waiting too long. If they waited for the next pay-per-view, I think that would have been too long.
And plus this atmosphere, this crowd, I mean, they were so hot for the Acclaimed. I thought this was the perfect night to do it. This is probably, I would assume it's going to be one of their best TV audiences of the year, if it's not the best. And so the most eyeballs saw it. So I think it was a win-win.
Yeah, you're in my mind there, Raj. That's exactly what I was thinking. That with all the attention coming tonight, for them coming from Arthur Ashe in New York and the whole bit, there might be a lot of eyes on the product tonight. And when new eyes tune in, or eyes that don't normally tune in, perception is reality.
Yeah. Well, can you guys? There's so many things happen on AEW that I feel like a lot of things escape my mind on Dynamite. Well, why did the Acclaimed agree to have Billy Gunn come back? Because he turned on them, joined his sons, and then his sons turned on Billy Gunn, and then they just took him back. That just seems like that was a weak move, unless there was a good reason for them to do that.
Or I missed the reason why.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. I was just wondering, and I just feel like Billy Gunn. I'm a big Billy Gunn fan. I just don't know if he really adds anything to the group. I mean, they get to say "Scissor Me, Daddy" and whatnot, but outside of that, I don't know. It just feels like they don't really need him.
I hear you.
The crowd's still into it, though.
They are, and of course, I see Billy Gunn, and I get so jealous when I see,
he looks fantastic.
He looks incredible. Yeah,
him, Jericho, just jealous. Dustin.
Yeah. So we saw FTR backstage. They won a title shot. That'll be a great match, but I mean, the Acclaimed cannot lose that match when it happens.
Yeah.
The thing was, then the Gun Club come in, and they almost, they tease like it's going to be the Gun Club versus FTR next. There hasn't been a good storyline reason why FTR hasn't gotten a title shot since like April. When they have those two titles, they've been number one contenders. Yes, there's the news that they've been phasing out the rankings, but that's just been the last few weeks. They've been number one contenders for months before that. So it just feels like they're always kind of being slighted. Like anytime they get some steam, then they're just kind of, I don't know, and cooled off.
And not only that, Raj, every backstage interview that happens, there always seems to be somebody who comes in and interrupts. You talk about too much repetition of similar situations. It seems like that happens with their backstage interviews as well.
Yeah. I mean, but with FTR has held so many championships. I don't think they're perennial tag team champions. They don't need the official AEW World Tag Team Championships. There's no value that brings FTR, and that brings no value to AEW.
But they're not even in like on the last pay-per-view, they were in a trios match and not a tag match. Like they're just not even featured that much as a tag team on their A show on Dynamite that much.
More reason that ROH needs to get that TV deal, and they need to go to Discovery.
Real quick, sir, just for what we were talking about a second ago, Sergio Cardenas saying, Acclaim say Billy when he was being attacked from the Ass Boys. Oh, why would they say Billy when Billy turned on them just weeks earlier? That's again, from a storyline perspective, I just don't get that.
That wasn't explained. Yes.
Yeah.
Sheed Black kind of pointing out the same thing. Billy got jumped by his two sons. That's why he joined the Acclaimed, which would be fine if he didn't already turn on the Acclaimed just weeks earlier.
Right.
Yeah. So MJF, we got him out there going toe-to-toe with Wheeler Yuta. Man, the ball's on Wheeler Yuta to say, like, I want to have a promo face-off against MJF.
I hope it wasn't his idea.
I mean, not since the Fresh Prince said, I think I can beat Mike Tyson. Has anyone had this level of naive hubris to go toe-to-toe with somebody who was so out of their league?
Oh my goodness! It just showed the vast difference in the two. That's for sure. And maybe whoever was behind putting this little segment together will rethink from now on who they put opposite MJF on the microphone.
Yeah, unless they were trying to turn Wheeler Yuta heel here, this just seemed like a terrible idea. The fans were booing Wheeler. He was bringing up MJF getting engaged, like he was going to do some major diss. And it was just a fart in church. I mean, he just does not have that charisma right now to go toe to toe or even come close or remotely close to MJF. So MJF, I thought in this segment, and he does it every week. He just shows me that he is in my opinion, the best wrestler under the age of 30. And who knows, maybe above that, but he is, as far as combining the hardest things in wrestling, which is character and getting the crowd to care and getting over and being great on the mic. So many guys are great in the ring right now, but he combines all the other stuff that so few people can do.
And he's so young. You said under 30, and he's well under 30. So that's even more surprising for me. Someone who gets it that young.
Yeah. Sheed Black Buck 99 saying he didn't do too bad or didn't do that bad. MJF didn't kill him. I mean, it was just think of that episode of the Larry Sanders Show where Hank Kingsley's trying to battle hecklers. It was just like, you're just making yourself look worse, dude. Like this is not helping.
It'd be like Harry Styles battle rapping with Eminem.
There you go.
I'd pay like $1 to see that.
I'd see it.
It's entertaining in a morbid way. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Just Cruise 999 saying was just there. Love the tag match. Haven't been keeping up as much. So the Scissor Me Daddy chance caught me off guard. Yeah. If you do not follow AEW, like you're really like, what did they just say? What I think they said? Just Cruise saying love that energy still popped. Also MJF killed Wheeler and was amazing.
Yeah. I thought it was a 10 count easy.
Yeah. So Diamante was backstage facing off with Jade Cargill, and she's bringing a surprise with her to their match. Trina is going to be there. I can see by the looks on both of your faces that you are huge fans of Trina and her work with Trick Daddy in the world of hip hop.
No, I like Trina. I'm an old school rap hip hop fan. But she looked like she was. Is she wrestling? Like I don't
know.
Yeah, exactly.
She looked like she was wearing wrestling gear.
A little confusing as to what her role will actually be.
I think this was one area where, unless you're a rap hip hop fan, especially older, I can see a lot of people not knowing who she is. And, I feel like they should have explained that when they came back, like, oh, hip hop sensation, she was married to, well, maybe not say, whatever, but just explaining who she, how long she's been around, since the 90s, and that she's a big name in hip hop. Because if you don't follow hip hop, I mean, if they put a big country music star out there, I probably would not know who it was.
Yeah, but with Trina, it's not like it's JJ Fad like coming to the ring with DMI. Everyone knows JJ Fad. I mean, Supersonic Jimmy. No, if you had Salt and Pepper, everybody knows who Salt and Pepper is.
But I don't know if you'd recognize Salt and Pepper right off the bat if you saw them today, unless someone explained it.
Right. Good point. True. Yeah. Again, it's one of the things that AEW does is they seem to assume that the audience knows who these celebs are, and sometimes you do have to point them out and let the people know.
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people thought she was a wrestler from somewhere else.
I had to make sure that I wasn't assuming wrong due to the lack of context in her presentation. And I'll admit, and I know who Trina is. Yeah. But the way they presented her, it was kind of like, is like scanning the database in my head. Is there some wrestler that I'm forgetting?
Yeah. I know who Trina is too, but it took me a second because I don't know. Has she been active in a while? Like since like I think I haven't heard of anything of her since before 2010. But yeah, when she came out, it took me a second because they said Trina. I'm like, okay, I know her, and she looks like the rapper Trina, but wouldn't they say it? I don't know. It just took me a second because I'm like, they should name her Trina if she looks like the rapper.
And from a production standpoint, was Tony the one conducting the interview? Did they mention ahead of time that this was pre-taped? Who was it?
Because he was attacked by MJF. Was Tony doing that interview? I've already forgotten.
Yeah, I've already forgotten. Anyway,
I haven't listened to. I think what song I do listen to all the time is Missy Elliott's "Gossip Folks," which in the intro says, "I heard Missy was married to Tim and then effing with Trina," and so that's why so fresh on my mind. Like I listen to this song at least once a week. But yeah, it's just like really random. It's cool. Maybe next Tony will bring out like Latrim. They can do Cars That Go Boom. It'll be fantastic. I like that Tony's going deep with some of the references here.
Yeah, there you
go. Zook Enigma saying, "Let's you guys talk about rappers is cringe." There's like, I think it's pretty obvious if just from looking at us that we are hip hop in what we live and breathe.
Yeah, Zook, and don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
Hey, I still listen to my Black Sheep, Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, so. I go way back.
I'm more a Parliament Funkadelic guy. So
there you go.
There you go.
Dustin Eck, $5. This is the most anyone's talked about Trina in a long time. She's got an independent album coming out later this year.
Oh, nice.
Dustin Eck, thank you for the super chat. And
I think it's cool as hell that they're using her. Again, I just think just explaining it to the audience that doesn't follow.
You know what part of it is though? Like, I'm not that familiar with Diamante, and I feel like Diamante just got upstaged by Trina tonight, which like we weren't that excited about Diamante before, and now it's just like, okay, they're really trying to get us invested in what's going to be a very quick loss to Jade Cargill.
Yeah, that's how it feels, definitely.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm not invested in anyone that's feuding with Jade because they're not winning that feud. You know? Okay, so there we go. Bilal, $5. Trina's slogan from 305 was the baddest B, and Jade is that B. So there you go.
Okay.
Okay. So Pac versus Orange Cassidy for the All Atlantic Championship. Jimmy, what'd you think of this?
I enjoyed the match. I thought it was a good match. The kicks that he does and stuff like that. I know it bothers a lot of people, and I get it. It's why it's there. But at the same time, when OC gets going, he can go, and Pac obviously is a goer in the ring too. And they had a heck of a match. And even though they used an object for the finish here out of the referee's sight, at least they did it in a way where it didn't make the referee look stupid because it was outside the ring when the referee still was staying inside the ring. And he hid the hammer in his hand for that shot, and he covered up, with his back to the ref and couldn't see. Yeah. Let me just put it this way: the distraction finish worked in this case because it was done correctly, not to make the referee look bad.
Raj?
Yeah, I thought the match was good. I just feel like this title, it's one that's not necessary. And I think, Orange Cassidy always does a great job of getting himself back over with the crowd. I feel like he's cooled off a lot over like the last year and a half. But I think he still finds a way to kind of pull you in. And I thought the match ended up being a lot of fun. So they had one of my favorite pay-per-view matches. I think it was last year, right? I think it was, I forget if it was during the pandemic or the year before, but yeah, I thought this was a fun match, but as far as things you could skip on the show, this would probably be it.
I think Orange Cassidy, the best friends are bringing him down. It is like Diana Ross and the Supremes. One of them is clearly a star, and the other two are good, but let's be realistic.
Not needed.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
But he's such a fan favorite, though. I don't know that he ever needs to win a title, but I would like to see it happen.
I don't know. Yeah, he could be one of those guys that just goes through, most of his career not winning a title, and then he gets one just to satisfy the itch, so to speak, and maybe what is it called? The All Atlantic Championship.
There's so many championships.
Maybe that's one you could put on him that'll satisfy that itch, and then because, like you said, Glenn, he's over without a title. Doesn't really need it.
I think Tony Schiavone should introduce like the world's greatest grandpa title, and then Orange Cassidy could win that off Tony.
I think Orange Cassidy, you could do like a good odd couple tag team gimmick with him and with like I don't know, maybe not Tony Nese, but someone who's like takes themselves very seriously, is constantly working out. I don't know, but do something different with them and take that character somewhere new.
Cheat Black 499 saying Orange Cassidy can go. Forbidden Door showed that. I agree. His match at Forbidden Door was amazing. He's a really good wrestler. I would be very happy if he was champion. But when you're that over, do you need to be champion?
Right. Yeah. There's the question. Can you put asses in seats without the belt around your waist?
Yeah. which in some ways is more powerful, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so catching on super chats, Dustin Eck, $10 saying, dope that TK's repping hip hop, bringing in rappers and producers on AEW TV. We've seen T-Pain, Kevin Gates, Griselda, Action Bronson, JD, Snoop, Fabulous, DJ Woo Kid. Excited to see more in the future. He's very in touch with the hip hop community. I mean, WWE is as well, but I think that Tony Khan has always done interesting cameos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like you're seeing more of, not the like WWE. Chances are, if they on the main roster, if they're bringing in any kind of music star, it's like like a really big name,
MGK or Bad Bunny or
right. Yeah, exactly. And whereas they're bringing in AEW's bringing in a lot more stars who are more underground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which again caters to a certain audience, not a broader audience. Is some people say is the problem with their presentation and who they're gearing their product towards. They're gearing it towards that hardcore, diehard wrestling audience, as opposed to mixing in a little bit of other. You have to mix in some entertainment to gain some.
Yeah, all I want to know is, how did they broadcast out of Florida for a year straight and AEW never brought in Luther Campbell? Blows my mind. Sheet Black $4.99. Orange Cassidy or his crew not getting a title. Break them up already. What's the point? I mean, the best friends are probably really going to be bummed if that happens.
Right. They're the ones that are benefiting most from having Orange Cassidy as part of the group, obviously. So
that's another title that I just don't see as being useful. And you look at the ratings. The two Kenny Omega trios matches, the ratings fell during the match. So. I don't think fans are seeing those, and those were tournament matches, but still, there was for the leading up to the final. And
trios seems like the most masturbatory title that AEW has.
Right.
Yeah. So we got Brett Murphy, $10, just racking in the bucks tonight. If MJF wins, does he hold on till his contract expires? And if not, who takes it from him? Because much like Roman in WWE, if you beat the dude, you're the next bona fide superstar. And in AEW, MJF is the dude.
Well, you know what? He is the dude right now. And the one guy that could have been the dude if they didn't put a different title on him was Wardlow. Wardlow could have been that guy, and he's a homegrown, so to speak, talent, AEW talent, to put that title on and build your future around, because the guy's a beast, the guy's a monster, and he was super over, and I don't feel like he's over now as he was before. And you can just tell the audience speaks volumes in that regard as well.
Yeah, you definitely want to strike when the iron's hot, but I still feel like Wardlow, they could pull the trigger at any time and the fans will go there. He just needs that one hot feud, and maybe MJF is the one after MJF wins the title, assuming that's what happens. I don't know if AEW would allow him to hold the title till his contract expires, unless they re-sign him or quietly re-sign him or re-sign him in secret, like WWE did with CM Punk, because you don't want to take that chance. Again, we talked about TV rights coming up in the next, the negotiations are going to be over the next several months.
Yeah,
that's going to tell a lot. If they get an increase, a big increase, they could throw a lot of money towards MJF. So he's in a good spot. He doesn't want to renegotiate until, in my opinion, until they get that deal.
Yeah.
But if they don't get that deal, I don't know if AEW can compete with WWE for a lot of the bigger contract talent.
Right.
And then Sheet Black $4.99 saying he knew who Trina was. Hint off Jade saying she's the baddest bee. So there you go. Thank you everyone for your super chats. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
Four-way match. Toni Storm defending the interim AEW Women's World Championship against Athena, Serena Deeb, and Britt Baker, DMD, tonight. And I would say we would be talking about this match and Toni Storm retaining, but what happened after stole the headlines in America's hearts as Saraya, the former Paige from WWE, made her AEW debut. But before that, Raj, what did you think of this four-way match?
I thought it was good. I feel like the women's division has cooled off a bit since Britt lost the title, and I still feel like if Saraya can wrestle again, I think her and Britt is the biggest match that they could do in that division.
Mhm.
So yeah, I thought the match was good, and obviously what happened after the match was in a lot of ways what the number one or number two highlights of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jimmy, were you surprised when Saraya came out to the ring?
No, I was surprised. I wasn't expecting it to happen at the end of that match, and even though there was a story earlier today on Wrestling Inc. that AEW had reached out to Saraya, the former Paige, during the summer, I didn't think that it would happen after the match, especially but I think the surprise of her coming out after the match overshadowed the title retention by Toni Storm. And the two little things in this match, Taz during the match trying hard to cover for the referees tonight, saying, making his little comments about them trying to do their jobs and it's a difficult job, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't the right time to do that. Not during the match. I don't know. It just took away from the match. And also the fact that Saraya came out after this overshadowed everything in that match. And,
I know it's so tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
I feel like, say what you will about the women's division, but with Britt Baker, like Tony Khan clearly believes in Britt Baker and Jade Cargill consistently. Every other woman in that division has seemed like he's had a passing interest in pushing them, but it hasn't been sustained. And I don't know, maybe Saraya is going to join that elite top tier circle rather than going the way of Ruby Soho or Athena.
Yeah.
And again, it all depends on if she can wrestle or not. If she can't wrestle, there's only so far you can go with it.
That's Dylan Matthews has an interesting point with the super chat saying Saraya not getting a little physical was the wrong move because I think that would have signaled. That would have signaled that she's there to wrestle if she would have.
But then it would have been a dead giveaway. So I think, Dylan, I hate to disagree with you, but I disagree. I don't think this was the right move at the right time. Everybody backing off. No rush to get physical. Let people keep people guessing.
Yeah, then everyone's not only are they talking about it, but then they're wondering: is she going to manage? Is she going to wrestle again? We don't know.
Yeah.
So
you know what? If she came out there and roasted the women's division and roasted TK and said she was in charge of the women's division now, like that would almost be the sea change moment. Even if she's not wrestling, or maybe she does that and then we find out later that she is wrestling. But I think like they need a hard reset on the women's division in AEW, and they need to show us that they're serious about this because I almost don't want to get my hopes up again. It's like every time they have a prominent wrestler debut in the women's division, it's like, now it's going to change. Now it's going to be better. Now we're there.
But the difference between them and obviously the obvious comparison will be WWE is they just don't have as much television time to present to the women, or they don't give them enough time on television. They have 3 hours a week. Yes, they do stuff on their YouTube channel, elevation and that sort of stuff, but are enough eyes watching it there? And you know what I mean? It's a different animal there. So still right now, the money is in TV as of this moment.
Yeah. Sheed Black saying Britt and Jade would be number one to me. Sheed Black also wants to know, when was T-Pain on AEW?
Dynamite late last year. He helped Cody win.
That's right.
He like gave Cody a chair or something against. I want to say, is it Sammy Guevara? Or no, I think it was Andrade.
Vicky 499 super chat saying, wonder why the commentators kept mispronouncing Saraya's name like that. She says it's Saraya, not Saraya, like baby to pacify. I don't know. They'll have to clarify that.
It's like because the show tonight was in New York.
There you go.
They did change Pac's name to Pac. I still say Pac. It just feels more natural. Or I could easily see the announcers not being filled in, and they probably never say Saraya. So
yeah, we'll see. They'll probably work into references about with her, Toni Storm, and Athena. They're all on the same page. Like they'll be sly because They're clever like that.
You beat him to the punch, Glenn. I love it.
Yes. Also, it occurred to me tonight while I was like loading the dishwasher after I got my takeout vegan Panda Express because my wife is out of town and I'm living a sad bachelor life in Las Vegas, taking care of my 5 cats. It's like, why hasn't Chris Jericho or somebody, when they're sharing the mic with Taz, like referred to him as Razzmatazz? Like, I need that to happen. I need that in my life.
Oh. I'm texting Chris right now.
Yeah,
yes, Razzmatazz. Make it so.
No JR this week.
Yeah.
I
hope he's doing okay.
Yeah.
So Moxley versus Bryan Danielson for the AEW World Championship. Banger of a match. They got a good 20 minutes here. Jon Moxley, the new AEW World Champion. No interim match to this. Jimmy, what did you think of this main event?
I really liked this main event. It was solid, hard-hitting main event. Technically, 2 baby faces in there battling each other, which normally I would say, well, it's confusing for the fans. The fans were into the match because they enjoyed the 2 people that were in the match, and they were kind of cheering both guys. So they loved it. I thought I kind of expected a good match from these 2, and nobody had to do the old proverbial, oh, well, someone's got to be dastardly in this match so that they can be kind of heelish. And a solid, clean win for Jon Moxley. I think Raj will agree that this is the right choice at this time for him to be the AEW champion, not interim champion, because I hate that term because it just anyway. But yeah, he's the guy who he's putting his 100%, 150% behind this company. So why not do it? You know what I mean? Go with him. And like you said, Raj, going into looking ahead at MJF cashing in the casino chip, I think it's a better cash in against someone like a Mox than Danielson at this point, anyway.
Yeah, and we had discussed this at the beginning. I agree. I think Mox winning makes sense. I just feel like Mox versus MJF at Full Gear just has a better dynamic than Danielson versus MJF would have. So I think, I think that match should be awesome. I think the lead up to it should be great. I thought the match tonight was awesome. I thought this was one of the best Dynamites they've done. Gosh, I can't even. It's one of the best they've probably done, if not, since maybe they're. Gosh, probably the best they've done. I'm trying to rack my brain thinking of a better one, but definitely the best this year. So I thought it was a great night overall.
Yeah. If there's one critique I can make through this match is that I think there were a few too many cuts to MJF during this match. It was a little bit distracting. Sure, it's okay to show him a couple of times, but it seemed like every I don't know. It felt like it was a dozen times they cut to him. They didn't need to go to him that often.
It just tells you what the hottest story is in AEW still,
I guess, yeah. But it overshadowed the title match.
I know.
At times.
I think they're trying to put it in people's minds that he might be able to cash in. But I agree. And I just felt like him sitting there with the giant chip just looked kind of odd. For this Roddy Piper type heel. Just holding this giant chip on his lap. I don't know.
He should have been having fun. He should have literally put it on his shoulder at one point, then worn it like a Devo hat, or just, why not get goofy with it for how much the camera?
Just put it in the seat next to you.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. But I think, it was a little distracting, but that's why, I liked how Bryan passed out rather than tapped out. He still looks strong in defeat, but it made me feel like, okay, MJF is going to take this off Mox. You know what else? I mean, it's weird that I'm excited about this, but Rampage being 2 hours this week, it's being pre-taped tonight. Like, I just popped on Twitter for a second. I'm like, no, I don't want Rampage spoiled for me. I can't remember the last time that was like my thought about Rampage, but tonight was so hot that, man, it's like when AEW gets it right, they get it so right.
No, that's true. Again, they have to just stop trying to cater to that one specific audience.
I agree.
Is my thing. It's just, and again, hate to compare it to somebody else. You look at somebody like a Triple H who's taken over creative. I think he's got a great mind for blending old school with new school.
Yeah.
And I think so far it shows. Anyways.
Cheat Black Buck 99 saying, don't like Moxley losing twice that fast. I mean, we'll see. MJF could... Wardlow could cost MJF that championship. That would be some good storytelling. Or Morrissey could turn on MJF, Stokely Hathaway could lead the contingent out there. There's some things they could do with this.
I think the iron's hot for MJF.
I agree, but
when you got
Moxley's been champion for most of the year, or a big chunk of the year. Interim champ between interim and now the world champion for at least another month and change. So,
well, let me pose the theory about this. MJF becoming champion. It's like for 9 years they teased Dwight Schrute becoming the boss on The Office, and it was always funny and exciting when it was like, is Dwight going to become the boss? They saved that for the very end of the show because you realize like Dwight actually being in charge is nowhere near as interesting as Dwight wanting to be in charge.
Gotcha.
So MJF as champion might have a little of that. Like we fantasy booked it, and then we were like, this is actually a lot more fun when he was just giving everyone the finger and being mean.
Okay.
Just putting it out there.
That's fair. That's fair.
So anything else before we take this home?
No, like you guys said, it was a very fun, entertaining night of Dynamite. And aside from the little things as I talk about in my ref and rants, it was a very enjoyable show. And so those people who are out there thinking, oh, here goes the ex-WWE guy. No, I want AEW to succeed. I think tonight was a nice step forward for them. And keep doing what they're doing. Just got to tighten some screws here and there, which every company has to do. And they're not an exception. So, and good job tonight by AEW.
Raj, you and I can relate to this because we've been doing this way too long. You even longer than me. I've been doing this 6 years now. 6 years I've been doing this podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're like got to be going on 8 or
like
so.
17.
Yeah. So people might think like, oh, they want it to suck because they want to get on the air and hate on something because that's going to be fun. And it's like, let me assure you, that impulse passed about 5.5 years ago.
Sitting through a bad show just so we can crap on it is not fun. It's much easier watching a fun show and and not being overly and not having much to complain about.
Yeah, you don't want it to ever feel like work. Peter Bahi, $2 super chat. Raj, being on the Wrestling Inc. podcast is a gift.
Oh, thank you, Peter. Much appreciated, man.
There you go. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. You can follow Jimmy at Jimmy Korderas. You can follow Raj at the Raj Giri. I'm Glenn Rubenstein. Give me a follow on Twitter. I talk about wrestling in addition to things like the new Quantum Leap and the Step Up film series. Got a diverse repertoire. But I will be back on Friday with Alfred. Hopefully Issa, and we'll catch you back here next time on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.